It is Nick and Eric, and we are back at Barber Motorsports Park after a year off because of the COVID. Barber, it's a great track, finally manicured. We always love going there, and this time the driving wasn't even that terrible.
Barber falls in the wintertime, which is the best time to go to the south, and in a clever stroke of genius, I decided to caravan 3 people to the race. As it happens, that was a terrible idea. There was a giant ice storm. It took me and Jeff Stobbs 2 entire days to get to the race because of all the terrible ice storm, road condition badness. We arrived very tired. That was but terrible.
This was the first race of the 2022 season, and as such, it's the first race with the eBay Motors Halloween Meets Gasoline Trophy. You should know about this by now, but it's the biggest cash prize in Lemons. It's $1,000 and a trophy for the team with the best costumes, the best themes, the best decorations. It's brought to you by our sponsor, eBay Motors, and for the first race, we were really happy with all the stuff that showed up.
There can only, of course, be one winner, so we wanted to highlight some of the teams that really did this well but didn't win and kind of just nailed the idea anyway. First among these, Blue Bayou Racing and their Mazda Miata. They added a pig nose and ears to the car. Kind of low-key good, but more importantly, they wore pig outfits all weekend. That's hella sweet.
There was also the Winded Warriors Racing Dodge Dakota, one of those cars that doesn't really need a theme, especially when you got the AMC 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine, a Stellantis Superstar, I might add. But they had a nice beer case warrior outfit. It was an incredibly strong showing. The truck itself is an IOE contender. This time it didn't run quite enough, but definitely in the Halloween Meets Gasoline discussion.
Bad Decisions Racing was there with their 1947 Plymouth. There's a Lemons World episode on that one that you can watch. Most of their Moonshiner theme actually was also trapped in the ice storm, so it was kind of a good idea that didn't really come to fruition, but we appreciate their effort and the car.
And the last honorable mention goes to MR Blue and their Toyota MR2. They didn't have a theme at all for several races. We bugged them about it. We added the HMG trophy. They finally came up with a great Ren and Stimpy theme, including Powdered Toast Man. And the big red button. So, great debut for Halloween Meets Gasoline. We'll get to the actual winner of the prize later on in this episode, but for the entire season, up your game, you might win $1,000.
While we're talking about sponsors, the Yokohama Road Mangler Cup was in effect, as it is for all races this year. Bring your car on a set of Yokohamas, you can win a set of Yokohamas. We had 9 takers at this race, which is the most we've had. Super happy with that. 2 of those cars finished second in their classes, and one of those, Misfortune Cookie, took home the free tires at the end of the weekend.
Hella sweet was the theme and bribe from the Hi Hungry I'm Dad team in their Mazda 929. Their theme was based on the internet meme, the hilarious and stupid one about throwing your used car batteries into the ocean, which apparently is a safe and legal thrill.
It also charges the electric eels.
They bribed us with a home-built, gas-powered, 2-stroke impact wrench. It was given to us by a team member who had apparently tested it. We knew that because he had a giant gash and bloody bandage on his arm. And he said, "Here's our bribe for the race." And we said, thanks. They also gave us a Japanese tsunami woodcut with a car battery being hurled into the ocean.
Hella sweet, we had a couple of great judges, Judge Manny Coaches from New York and Judge Brett Sloman from Apocalyptic Racing. They brought a whole bunch of great penalties to this race. We had some classics like the Bob Ross penalty and the apologize to the paddock from the roof of the car. Those are always classics and play well. Also going to the Hi Hungry I'm Dad team. Manny had a team sing happy birthday to his sister via FaceTime. That was hella sweet.
Happy birthday, dear Nicky. Happy birthday to you.
We also had a small PA system, so we made a driver sing What's New Pussycat by Tom Jones.
Pussycat, I love you, yes I do. You and your Pussycat doing? What's new, Pussycat? Whoa, 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 whoa. What's new, Pussycat? Whoa, 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 whoa.
We also had a penalized team fill out a bunch of Valentines for race control as an apology for their appalling driving.
We were also donated a dog cone of shame that we put to good use. Judge Brett also sent a team out to go find all of the sculptures on Barber's finely manicured grounds, just like a Pokemon Go treasure hunt. Is that still a thing? It's probably still a thing. And we always have a bullhorn, so we are happy to give that to teammates so they can yell at their driver in the penalty box. That's always hella sweet.
I want to keep it looking spankly beautiful and rainbowy, and we can't have this crap off the road.
You wrecked my mom's car. Why did you do it?
Just keep the goddamn car on the track! Keep the goddamn car on the track!
Both Hella Sweet and But Terrible, Thin Blue Swine Racing, and their Ford Thunderbird. Diecast maker Johnny Lightning has decided that there should be some 24 hours of Lemons diecasts, and Thin Blue Swine is going to be the second one of them, and that's Hella Sweet. We were excited to talk to team captain Bruce Jansen about it, and he was excited to talk to us about it. So much so that he had a friend paint this Hella Sweet picture right here. Look at that. Unfortunately, I couldn't talk to Bruce about it because he had to miss most of the race because he was in the hospital with a staph infection in his leg, and that was butt terrible. He did manage to make it to the race eventually, just in time to yell at some of his drivers, so that was also kind of hella sweet, but we're hoping he gets better soon, and the Johnny Lightning diecast should probably help him get a little better, a little faster.
Hella Sweet, Lemons Romance. Rob Simpson of Knox Vegas Lowballers met Jen Swanson, a friend of Escape Velocity Racing, last year at NOLA. They recently got engaged, and at Barber, together, they raced Rob's TR8. They're getting married at NOLA this year on the racetrack, and we're really looking forward to that. They're awesome people, and we're always excited when Lemons actually affects life beyond lemons.
Hella Sweet, a couple of new teams racing in their Acura TL. That's kind of a car we've not seen at all, and frankly, I don't think anybody thinks about these things. They were great, and they were kind of invisible all weekend in the good way. We look forward to seeing those guys back. And also, Kind of Blue brought a Miles Davis themed Ford Focus. That's pretty culturally enlightened for Lemons, but everybody knows Miles Davis is cool as and they only set it on fire a little bit.
And moving from racing to Dumb Squad is another team returning for their second race, Hella Sweet.
But terrible are numbers. Numbers are hard. Car 720, Balaam's Donkey Racing. They have an RX-8. They previously raced it as Car 72. And unfortunately, Car 72 was taken at this race, so they changed it to 720. But they kind of half-assed it and then did a bunch of stuff that got them black flagged. Except the corner workers could only see the half-assed 72. Tetanus Racing kept getting black flagged for it. It turns out numbers are hard. Now, Balaam's Donkey Racing, being from Minnesota, are very apologetic about it, and they fixed their numbers and gave the Northwoods peace offering of, oh dang, what kind of beer can we get you?
But terrible, I'm sad to say, were the two Ford Fairlanes. Two Ford Fairlanes in a single race has got to be hella sweet, right? Well, Rust Cartel and Poolman Racing ensured that would not be the case. Poolman, new car, kind of nicely prepared, didn't matter, blown head gasket, something much worse maybe, they left. Rust Cartel, veteran team, they finally blew up their old 289 after 7 races. Driver sat in it while it was on fire, which was neat. They tried to buy another motor, found one on the shelf 15 minutes away that turned out to be not an on-the-shelf 289, but instead 2 blown-up 260s, a seized 351 Windsor, another 351 Windsor, and a crashed Bricklin SV1. Guy wanted $3,500 cash, no lowballers, I know what I got for that. I don't think the team walked away with anything, and it was butt terrible.
We mentioned the Winded Warriors earlier in their Dodge Dakota. They were Halloween meets gasoline contenders. Driver Tyler Stank also, by driving a few laps in this, became the first Lemons driver of all time to race a Chevy S10, a Ford Ranger, and a Dodge Dakota. How is it to drive all the small pickups in Lemons? They're all but terrible.
Hella sweet. Not real professional racing. They made a pretty good Joe Dirt Superbird out of what else? Mazda Protege. Their husband and wife team, they got the I Got Screwed award back at NCM. The car barely ran there. It was in a million pieces. They got it back together for this race, ran most of the weekend, and it had a dog on the roof with the fur flapping in the breeze. It was amazing.
But terrible was I You Not and their Chevy Cobalt. Cobalt, just fine. What was a little troublesome for me was their pit lollipop with, well, just look at it. These guys won the Yokohama Road Mangler Cup at their last race, and that was the third race on the same set of tires, and they thought they could make it 4.
Langsam, langsam, langsam.
Now, not to be confused with the Mr. Blue Toyota MR2 we talked about earlier, this is the Mr. Pooh Toyota MR2. From the outside, this car doesn't look like much, but during inspection, we pop the engine lid and it's like a science project in there. There's wires and hoses, throttle bodies, JDM motor, a giant intercooler from a diesel tractor being used as a radiator. We shut it, walked away.
Normally we don't talk about the winners, but they were all kind of interesting at this race for a change. The overall winner was Twisted Sister Racing and their Acura RSX, which is the first RSX to win. And that's a 20-year-old car, just to make you feel a little older. They finished with a brake rotor falling off and just barely managed to win. But more importantly, the car that led most of the race was the Corona's Mercedes SLK 230, which did Mercedes things by just randomly stopping working. Crucially, however, they have a Dodge Neon SRT4 motor, and they were asking about building a Dodge Caliber Golden Edition.
Now, if you guys want the whole explanation of the Dodge Caliber Golden Edition, watch the 2021 season recap. But in a nutshell, Rod Blagojevich was famously on the phone making illegal deals and talking about how things are going to be golden once he gets his bribe money.
I mean, I've got this thing, and it's golden.
Turns out Rob was at the Dodge Caliber launch originally when that car came out, so really it's the synergy between corrupt Chicago politics and the Dodge Caliber.
The requirements, of course, very simple. Paint your Dodge Caliber gold and cheat the ever-loving out of it. Class B winners were Psycho Billy Crap Can, which is a 1949 Plymouth Cranbrook and God knows what else grafted onto a BMW 3 Series. With a 4-cylinder engine, they finished 6th overall with the 69th quickest lap.
Nice. Class C was won by Bad Penny Racing and their Boomer Bird, the 2003 Thunderbird. This car has now done 4 races in like 8 months. And what's more incredible than that, it just runs like a train. 0 problems for the engine and transmission. This could be you. You could bring a Lincoln LS or a Jaguar S-Type, which would be the first one to Lemons, by the way. Cars are indestructible.
Sort of, yeah.
Specific to this race was the no class winners as well. What is no class? Well, Lemon's crazy man Stephen Abear emailed to ask if he could run a class for just his 3 piles, and on the line was $6.01 of his own money. We said, alright, we'll let you do this once. And as it turned out, it became the closest race of the entire weekend. His Mercedes S600 raced heads up with his Dodge Monaco and won by 1 second when they did a Ford versus Ferrari finish across the finish line. Spectacular. I don't know if we'll ever do a no class again, but we're kind of thinking about Spec Land Yacht again. Maybe let us know in the comments what you think about Spec Land Yacht.
The special award was the Nuts About Trophies Award, and it went to the Dodgers and their Mitsubishi Eclipse, which this one's got a neon engine. I didn't even know that was a thing. That's a piece of pre-Stellantis. And we had a situation at this race. We were using this old stock of trophies that were kind of relatively nondescript. This team said, hey, no problem, we got a bunch of blown up engine pieces, we can dress those things right up. So Eli on their team, he's taking high school welding classes. He took all the broken parts and he welded them to our trophies. They came out hella sweet. We set one aside and gave it back to them as an award.
Heroic Fix went to Nearly Adequate Racing in their Ford Pinto. If that sounds familiar, that's because they won a Heroic Fix 6 months ago at NCM. Last time we saw them, their 3D printed blow-through turbo plenum was not quite working, and they spent the entire weekend swapping it back to a non-turbo setup. But in the intervening months, they solved this problem by starting over with a 5-liter Mustang swap. At BS inspection, the judges placed bets on the lap total. I bet 31 laps, and they made it 22 before the first 5-liter annihilated itself. No worries, they brought a backup. They swapped that backup engine into the Pinto, and they moved some parts from the dead motor onto the good one on Saturday night. And then that engine ran all day, and the car set fastest lap for the weekend. The car ran all day. The engine ran for 2 hours. The engine got them to 31 laps. That second engine blew up because it turns out they installed the water pump backwards.
I got screwed, went to WT Florida Racing. They had raced before with Hi Hungry I'm Dad and their Mazda 929, decided to start their own team with a Volkswagen Golf with the 1.8 turbo. You know, that's the motor when it came out. Contemporary car magazines were saying it was going to be the Chevy small block of this generation.
And by that, they meant not interchanging between model years and blowing up frequently, I think.
They had their theme all planned out. It was going to be the Betty White 100th birthday theme. That theme hit a snag.
Thank you for being a friend.
They made a couple of small adjustments. They changed their number from 100 to 99.9 and made it the RIP Betty White theme. We posted a picture of this car on our Instagram, and Tony Angelo from Hot Rod Garage popped in the comments, making the point of, the car didn't quite make 100 laps. Eesh.
Actually, it only turned 21 laps before it started knocking, but they found a replacement in Huntsville, Alabama, which is about 2 hours away, and it was an exact same model year and even part of the sub-model year that would fit, so they were very enthusiastic about it.
When they got there, they were dismayed to find that the engine was full of mud. The engine was full of weevils. The engine was full of ice.
So they left empty-handed, and they decided they were going to try and limp their knocking engine to the checkered flag, and unfortunately and fittingly, they didn't quite make it.
Too soon? Okay.
We gave out a regional trophy for the Star Wars vs. Star Trek Chewbacca Ate My Tribble Award. This was the Ragged Racing team who's formerly raced Corvettes. They brought 2 not Corvettes to this race themed as Star Wars and Star Trek. They brought a Honda CRX totally done up like Darth Vader's TIE Fighter from the very first Star Wars movie, which is obviously the best. That alone was great, but they also had a Borg Ward Isabella. The Borg Ward Isabella with a Star Trek theme, because of the Borg. 7 of 9. Nick, help me out. Explain this.
Yeah, well, the Borg were a pseudo-species of cybernetic humanoids, or cyborgs, from the Delta Quadrant. No single individual truly existed within the Borg collective, with the possible exception of the Borg Queen, I am Locutus of Borg. Their ultimate goal was the attainment of perfection through the forcible assimilation of diverse sentient species. Tasha Yar was killed by a malevolent entity known as Armis. Now you want to heat the chopped olives in a large soup pot, add the chopped onion, cook for 5 minutes. Ambassador Spock was working on the initiative for Vulcan and Romulan reunification, and they were from Staten Island, and the original members were the Rizza, the Jizza, Old Dirty Bastard, Dwarf, and his son Alexander inside the holodeck, along with Counselor Troy, who was playing the character of Durango, who Method Man, Raekwon, Ghostface Killa, and Spectadec typically operated in an atmosphere with a constant temperature of 39.1 degrees Celsius and set phasers to stunning.
Yeah, anyway, so we decided to let the CRX and the Borg Ward straight up fight it out on the track to decide, once and for all, who was better, Star Wars or Star Trek, and lo and behold, the Borg defeated the Empire and came in 19th place. Wait a minute, you must be asking, wasn't the Borg Ward last in Arizona, and wasn't it so damn slow that 19th place would be a fever dream in a Lemons race?
Well, yes.
The Borg Ward went up for sale in Arizona, and Rocky Chambers from Ragged Racing in the Southeast decided that the team needed that car because it couldn't possibly be worse than their previous cars.
The heartbeat of America.
With that in mind, Rocky and his son, they flew to Arizona to drive the car on the street back to Tennessee. It's probably worth noting that in 2 races, it never made it more than about 150 miles. That's about as far as Rocky and his son made it before the Borg Ward engine blew up and they towed it the rest of the way home.
So, where do you get a replacement Borg Ward engine in the entire world? Well, you don't. It just wasn't even going to be remotely feasible, so they took a wrecked Miata, put the engine, subframes, suspension, all that stuff under a Borg Ward, and we let it run in Class C because that is the loophole. If you want a Miata in Class C, just go find yourself a Borg Ward to put everything underneath.
Judge's choice. Who else but Ass Clown Racing? It was a great and disturbing clown theme that included one dude wearing Violent J from the Insane Clown Posse makeup. They were wearing cut-off overalls in the 30-degree weather. Frankly, it was a great way to throw us off the trail of the fact that they had put a Camry V6 into the nose of their Toyota Celica. It didn't quite work out because that Camry motor overheated and then they had a bunch of early penalties. Their driving did get better, the car didn't really get better, but it was a great theme. Judge's choice.
Organizer's choice went to the third no-class competitor from Stephen A. Bear, and it was, of course, the badass Green Hornet replica 1977 Imperial. Big block Mopar V8, absolutely enormous, the slowest thing on the track. They were dressed as the Green Hornet, exactly the kind of awesome car we want at every single Lemons race. If you've ever driven anything like this personally for any length of time, you know how fantastic the experience is.
Wow!
It is a superior machine and therefore a spectacular organizer's choice. Well done, Black Unbeauty. Index of Affluency went to Event Horizon in their Plymouth Horizon. Much like the organizer's choice winner, this is the exact kind of car we want to see in Lemons, except instead of a big Stellantis boat, it is a small Stellantis economy piece of crap. This one was, of course, designed by Talbot Simca and Chrysler Europe in the 70s, then sold in the United States as a Plymouth with a Volkswagen engine. They still have a Volkswagen engine in this thing. It is still carbureted. They still hate everything about what's under the hood. Nevertheless, they finished about 55th in a 110-car field with the second slowest lap. Beat the hell out of a whole bunch of BMWs and Civics and looked spectacular doing it. Absolutely how you win an Index of Affluency. Well done, guys.
And at last, the actual winner of the Halloween Meets Gasoline trophy, it went to the Flying Blurritos and their Chevy Camaro. This is another spin-off team, this time from Ragged Racing, who wanted to build their own car. Bought a pre-raced In Lemons Camaro. But most importantly, they came with an amazing luchador theme with a hand-painted livery, completely stunning. They hired an entire mariachi band for BS inspection, but 3/4 of the mariachis were in COVID protocols, so they had a Mexican dude with a trumpet. Even that was spectacular. The kids got into it, including at least one of them who had his shirt off in that same 30-degree weather. There was pro wrestling grade taunting of all of their opponents. There was impromptu wrestling, there was dancing, and there was much shouting. This is exactly what we want to see all weekend from a team, and we gave them $1,000. And here's Lemons in a nutshell.
Car parts. It's yours if you want it.
So we go and we yank the open, beautiful motor. I mean, we're like, this might be it. What do you want for it?
Text, get a crane, we're ready to come back.
$3,600 cash. I'll pull it for you right now. Where do we go with $3,600 in cash in Birmingham on a Saturday evening? And he's like, clock's ticking.
You want it, don't you?
You want it, don't you?
Remember, it ran a NASCAR, Dan.
Oh yeah. Oh, he's like, that's a NASCAR motor. We went and looked at it, had stock headers and stock everything. He's like, no.
Pew, 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 pew.
I love you. I know.
Lower your shields and surrender your ships. We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Your culture will adapt to service us.
General Kenobi, years ago you served my father in the Clone Wars. Now he begs you to help him in his struggle against the Empire.
Captain, these Romulans, they are without honor. They believe humans and Klingons are a waste of skin.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.